Hi guys, so this is my review of the GTX 16 Super, and I've had a week-ish with it so far, and I'm actually quite impressed with this graphics card. It's done 1080p 60 for me, no problem. I don't have too many video games for you guys, but I did include the benchmarks, so I included Dark Souls 3, and then some other benchmarks for you guys. The benchmarks were recorded with OBS, that's desktop recording software. So when you are watching those benchmarks, keep in mind that the ones that you actually see are recorded on the computer, so they're actually slightly slower than what you would get because you won't be running anything in the background. Now I did include the benchmark scores after the fact without me recording it in the background, so you guys could also see that what you can expect. And yeah, so this graphics card will make your machine be able to do 4K 30-ish. So depending on what you want, you could do 4K. You can maybe get like a CinMag video experience. But 1080p 60 frames a second, and if you're doing air games, you can get like 120 frames a second depending on how it's optimized. It really depends on the game. You guys will see in the benchmarks. So it's VR ready. This will make your system VR ready, and this can do 1080p high, no problem. And yeah, so what do I think of the card for the price that I paid for it? Now, I paid originally for this card, not including tax, $509.88. Now, originally, this card, I guess before the Corona hit, was worth $389.99. So that's $100 and a few extra dollars difference. And is it worth the extra money? Probably not, but it's better than going on to Newegg, and on Newegg I saw it for $1,000 Canadian. So that's really not good. And so I did pay extra for it. I felt it was worth it for me, but if you want to make that decision for yourself, I would say that basically if you can wait, and try to get somewhere where it's not marked up too much. If it comes in stock, Canada Computers doesn't mark up their stuff too much. There's some of the numbers for you there. So if you live elsewhere, I wouldn't know really where to suggest. You could also try Kijiji if you're willing to do the used market and stuff like that. And you know, there's bestbuy.com for those of you in the US and stuff like that. So I was quite impressed with this performance of the card, and I'm happy with it. I've also going to be putting a link in the description below to another website that did the benchmarks, and they were nicely laid out, and it compares this to the RX 580 and the RX 590, which consumes slightly more power. So yeah, these cards in general are good for 1080p gaming, and if you want to do 2K or 4K, you might want to be looking elsewhere, but you could probably do some 2K on this card, it looks like. Now, changing the subject a bit to power consumption on this card, it's quite nice. So I was trying to build a rig that would fit into my power supply, so fit into the power wattage of my power supply. So I have a 430 watt power supply, and this is working well. You'll see on the benchmarks what CPU I'm using. I'm happy with that CPU, and it's a 6 core, and it's hyper-threaded, so it's a Intel core. So yeah, it's paired nicely with that, and the CPU isn't struggling, and it doesn't look like it's bottlenecking it, so I think you guys got the full performance of this card. And I was able to overclock it by about 200 megahertz. I'll show that in the end. You guys may be able to do more. I'm not really a pro at this stuff, so if you guys are better overclocking your stuff and able to get more than 200 megahertz, maybe somebody can write down in the comments too if they got more than 200 megahertz boost clock. But for me, it was just 200 was stable, but I was overclocking the CPU as well. So the power consumption with my rig is about 60 watts idle, 68 to 80 watts idle. And then when I am playing video games, I get around 130 watts with like Dark Souls 3. And if I'm doing a benchmark, it is around like 130 to 145 watts if I, now I have dual display setup, so if I'm running worst case scenario like a CPU benchmark and 2 GPU benchmarks, it'll pull 315-ish watts, you know, maybe spike to like 330. So it has like 100 watts left. So yeah, this card is quite powerful for the power consumption, and yeah, so I think this is a good card to pick up, and you guys should try to get it if you can. But if you can wait, like I was saying. Now, just some of my thoughts with the power consumption is that you guys, I would recommend for you guys to try to build a build within a particular power budget, especially because it's hard to get the bigger power supplies. Like if you want to go for a 1,000-watt power supply, you can't get it these days. So going for cards like this that consume less power is a good thing for also your wallet too, because if you are, let's say, a YouTuber like me, and it's just a hobby, or if you're doing, let's say, even if you're doing crypto mining, you gotta keep in mind, how much power does my rig consume? How much power does my rig consume? And the more power it consumes, the more money you have to make in order to break even for crypto mining or for YouTubing, or the more money you have to pay to game. So keep that in mind, that after a while, it really adds up. So I was looking at the benchmarks for my CPU and for some like GPUs, and some of them can easily consume double the power of this one, but yet they are presuming gives you similar frames, and the RX 580 is similar to this card, but it pulls more power. So that's interesting. So it's going to save you money in the long run, and this card was $30 less for me than the RX 580 would have been, and it's more powerful on average. So there's that to consider. And then for the CPUs, I will be doing a review of my CPU. Let me know if you want me to do a review on my integrated graphics. And I got a 65-watt CPU, and that is doing pretty good. And yeah, so that's paired nicely with this. And you guys will be able to watch the benchmarks and see if you should get this card for yourself, and how powerful it would be for you on your rigs. So watch the benchmarks, have fun you guys, and stay safe with the corona. Okay, see you later.